You chose the best time to start a YouTube channel because today there are so many companies out there making products that are going to help you deliver the content that you want to make to the audiences out there that want to watch it. When I first started YouTube out in 2015, I wasn't aware of what my options were. Not only that, but I also didn't have the money. I'm going to help you out with both scenarios. I'm going to make you aware of a company that makes fantastic products for content creators while simultaneously not breaking the bank. And today we're going to take a look specifically at a microphone. Let's go. This is the K688 by Fifine. This is a USB/XLR dynamic microphone. This thing comes in at around $79.99 right now on Amazon, and right off the bat, with regards to price, we're off to a great start. So let's take a look at the build. The microphone is composed primarily from what I believe, and I'm going to get clarification from my contact at Fifine, plastic. There are parts of it that are metal, but I feel like most of the body of the microphone is plastic. I don't feel too good about that. If it is plastic, and if I'm not crazy, I don't feel great about that because for like 20 bucks more, the Rode Pod mic is a full metal build. If we go ahead and remove the windscreen, again, we're going to see how much of a inspiration the Shure SM7B was for this microphone. As you can tell, the grill style right here is the exact same. The capsule obviously is different. It's a bit larger than the one the SM7B has, if I recall correctly. And the windscreen itself is not the most impressive thing because although the sides are nice and thick, the very top of it, if I hold it up against some light, I can see pretty clearly through it, which means it doesn't really do that great of a job against plosives. But again, keep in mind, we spent 80 bucks on this microphone. Now I know the most obvious thing we need to discuss next is sound. So let's go ahead and plug it up and check out how it sounds. So this is the K688 in action right now. I've got it hooked up via XLR running through my Legato Wave XLR audio interface, and this is what you get. I've got no post-processing, no equalization running through it. Actually, I lied. The only post-processing I have right now is the noise gate for the microphone because trust me, I need it. And my first observation at this microphone is incredibly heavy on the low end. I mean, my God, I get that we're going for a broadcasty sound with a dynamic microphone such as this one, but this is too much low end. But it's not the end of the world because I have a solution to circumvent that. And the solution, ladies and gentlemen, is quite simple. It is active right now. You should be able to hear a massive difference between the previous recording or the previous clip and this clip. I've gone ahead and turned on the Reaper plugins on the Wavelength software. I've got Reaper EQ now along with Reaper Noise Gate. What I did in the EQ is I lowered the lower frequencies down quite a bit. I'm talking about 6 to 7 decibels a pop, and I lowered my high-end frequency just a little bit. Just like negative 1.5 dB. I'm going to share it here on screen for you to see in case you want to use it as a point of reference for whenever you're adjusting your EQ settings for this microphone. And this, after some tuning and some testing and trial and error, is what you're going to ultimately get. Let's go ahead and look into the microphone's ability to reject noise and how it handles plosives. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So as you can see, this microphone's windscreen that comes included with it is absolutely terrible at handling plosives, and that's got to do a lot with the fact that the top side of the windscreen itself is incredibly thin. My suggestion would be, although not immediately urgent, is that if you were to pick up this microphone, consider buying a thicker windscreen or a pop filter for it so that your plosives are not bleeding into your audio and making my eardrums bleed. Now, let's take a look at how this microphone does in regards to noise rejection. So I'm going to talk to it from the sides, and hopefully if this does a good job at noise rejection, you're going to still be able to hear me, but it won't be as clear in case you have any noise going on around the sides. We're going to go ahead and switch it on over to this side, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you should not necessarily hear me as clearly, but that depends also on a couple of different factors. We're going to talk to the back of the mic because for some reason I decided I want to talk to the back of the mic because I didn't realize that this was a dynamic microphone, and dynamic microphones are usually top address microphones. Now let's see how this microphone handles noise rejection when it comes to my keyboard. Yeah. Since Fifine decided to go ahead and integrate and screw the shock mount to the microphone, let's see how effective it really is. And in order to test that, we're going to put it through the bonk test. Okay, it's not every day that you're using a hammer at your setup, so let's go ahead and actually try more realistic testing. This is the K688 hooked up via USB directly into my computer. No audio interface, no XLR cables. This is what the microphone would sound like immediately upon plugging it into your PC. The gain set to about 60 to 65%, and this is what you would get. So that being said, let's get into my final thoughts. The microphone, aesthetically speaking, I think it looks fairly nice. I'm not a big fan of the integrated shock mount. I wish this was a removable option because it, frankly, after the testing, as you could see and hear, doesn't really do that much in managing impact. The other thing that this microphone suffers from is its poor windscreen. The windscreen itself is just not the best. It does a decent, at best, job at rejecting noise from the sides and from the back. But when it comes to actually managing plosives, when you're speaking right into the microphone, it is absolutely horrible. So much so that we noticed a great difference once we used a different windscreen with a thicker top. Yes, you can have great mic technique, which you really should. You should never really be speaking directly into the microphone like this, but really more so like at an angle and a good distance. But not everybody, A, knows that, and or B, does that. And so in order to better manage that, if the windscreen was just a little bit thicker at the top, I think it would reduce the amount of plosives that this microphone would be subject to. Now, as far as sound itself is concerned, okay, I'm 50-50 on this, okay? Plug and play, right off the bat via XLR and or USB, this microphone is very heavy on the low end. The good news here is that you're not stuck with that because nowadays there are different solutions for how to equalize and tune your microphone. As far as the differences in sound between XLR and USB, I'm gonna tell you now, I think that this microphone sounds a lot better via XLR than it does via USB, but still does a fairly decent job when you're hooking it up via USB. You don't have to go out there and buy an audio interface setup for a microphone like this one because you can simply use it via USB. And if you buy it and use it via USB, you have the upgrade path available to you to then upgrade to an audio interface and then connect it via XLR, thus giving you better sound quality. At the end of it all, for $80, I don't think this is that bad of a microphone to buy. You have the ability to use it via XLR or USB. It's got some pretty good sound once you put in a little bit of work into it. It's a decent looking mic to have on camera because yes, I know we shouldn't buy microphones because of how they look, but at the end of the day, whatever your audience is seeing in your frame, you want it to pop and you want it to look good, and this microphone does that. Who would I recommend this mic to? Would I recommend this mic to somebody who's established in YouTube, has already got an audience and a subscriber base and they're pumping out content like crazy? Probably not. This probably is not much of an upgrade microphone for you. But if you're someone who's starting out on YouTube, starting out on Twitch, or starting a podcast, you have no microphones and you've got a small budget to work with, I have absolutely no problem with recommending this microphone so long as you're able to put the work in, which is not a whole lot, to tune it and get it set up to where it's going to do justice to your voice.